Hello again, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of SoulsBorne Battle to the Death. Yet another edition of SoulsBorne Battle to the Death. We're going to pick two random SoulsBorne bosses, and then they will have a shot put contest, and whoever throws the shot put the farthest will be the winner. It's about as simple as it gets right there. I don't really know how to make it any simpler than that. Now, as always, we will pit the two against each other, and we will determine which one we think would beat the other. And in the red corner, we have Osieros, the Consume. I'm not pronouncing that correctly. I think Christian has corrected me on the pronunciation of that. But the Consume King from Dark Souls 3 makes an appearance here on SoulsBorne Battle to the Death. He's a toughie. He's a toughie, particularly in that second phase when he gets like 10 times more aggressive and just starts running all over the place and trampling you and shit. He's tough. He's tough. I think he's a formidable enemy. I always say that. Why can't I come up with another word besides formidable? He's certainly a worthy competitor in SoulsBorne Battle to the Death. Let's say that. How's that? My brain is very tired. I'm not coming up with too many other adjectives. So it is what it is. We are going to take this wheel for another spin. And then we are going to try to use some different words to describe the opponent for the Consume King. See if I can wake up my brain. But of course, we need to know who that opponent is first. And it is in the blue corner, the Rotten from Dark Souls 2. Dark Souls 2? I think so. Dark Souls 2. Could be 1. Maybe it's 2, though. I have been informed by my Google machine that I was correct. It was indeed Dark Souls 2. And I thought so. It's interesting for sure. Certainly a different kind of fight. I don't know how exciting it would be. I don't know how exciting a fight this would be, but it would certainly be interesting nonetheless. All right, I need to take you to the contractually obligated bios, and with that in mind, let us take a look at the Consume King. So, the twisted tale of Osieros, pronounced correctly this time, the Consume King takes place in the kingdom of Lothric, which is the site of Dark Souls 3. Imagine that. Osieros and his bloodline were synonymous with creating champions to link the first flame and keep the Age of Flame going. Somewhere along the line, he marries Guinevere, Princess of Sunlight, the lucky bastard, and with her, birthed the twin princes, Lorien and Lothric. On a separate note, I like how it says on the fandom wiki here that Osieros and Guinevere generated the twin princes, like somehow electronically they did so. So Lothric was the one that was tasked to become a worthy champion, and eventually sacrificed himself to link the first flame. But unfortunately, he never grew to be anything more than a sickly and frail child who never grew out of his baby clothes. Although I myself kind of wonder if Lothric was just pretending to be sick to get out of sword practice. So when it became revealed that Lothric was just of a sickly demeanor and was never going to be the worthy champion that they envisioned, Osieros resorted to some repulsive measures to try and make this happen. And one of those methods was to try and fuse the souls of the twin princes together, hoping that Lothric would share in Lorien's strength and power that he possessed. Unfortunately, it worked the other way. Lorien became weaker and lost the use of his legs. So, good job, guys. And in the end, it didn't matter anyway, because Lothric just basically decides, fuck it, let the flame die, we're going to usher in the Age of Dark. So, he didn't give a shit from the very beginning, and I don't know that I completely blame him, but, you know, whatever. So at that point, Osiris begins his descent into madness. He becomes obsessed with dragons. He begins to worship the White Dragon Seath, and becomes obsessed with studying sorceries and things of that nature. Somewhere along the way, he manages to turn himself into a distorted, scaleless dragon. How he did this is never explained, so I guess it's not important. And then, in his never-ending quest to champion a child who would link the First Flame and sacrifice themselves, he fathers another child with Guinevere, who, in turn, promptly disappears shortly thereafter, and can't say that I blame her. The new child was named Ocelot, and was christened the Child of Dragons. But, as you can see, when you face Osiris in Dark Souls 3, Ocelot is invisible, or not there at all, or it's really hard to tell. You can hear a baby crying when you come into that boss room, and while you're fighting Osiris, and during the fight, Osiris even smashes the baby on the ground, and goes even madder than he was. So, there's a long-standing question here. Is Ocelot real? Is Ocelot not real? Did Guinevere leave because Osiris thought they fathered a new child and they really hadn't? And she kind of realized he was just off his rocker and fucking insane? So many questions. But, yeah, Ocelot would retreat into the Consumed Garden and to protect his Child of Dragons from anyone that might come after him. And when you find him in Dark Souls 3, that's where he is. Then he's holding the baby, and he smashes the baby, and then he goes mad, and then you... Yeah. That's pretty much it. I mean, that brings the tale of Osiris to a close. All that being said, Osiris is certainly no joke. And he's very... in the first phase, he's very magic-oriented, and in the second phase, he's very aggressive on all fours, and he still uses magic, but... Now he's just, you know, completely crazy, so he's certainly not a boss to be taken lightly. So it'll be interesting to see some future battles with Osiris and some of the bosses in SoulsBorne Battle to the Death. There is absolutely nothing concerning lore for the Rotten in Dark Souls 2. It is basically a giant mass of undead fused together, and apparently also it's hollow. For those uninitiated, what we would call zombies are undead, because everything is virtually undead in the Dark Souls universe. They would call hollow. Hollow is basically kind of insane undead that have lost their minds. So that is what the Rotten is. The hollow on the top left shoulder apparently mimics its movements, which I never knew that before, so next time I play the game, if I ever decide to play Dark Souls 2 again, I don't know why anyone would, I'm going to have to check that out and make sure that that's actually a thing, which I'm sure it is, but it's got to be interesting. The Rotten holds the old Dead One's soul, which is the same soul that Gravelord Nito held in the first Dark Souls. And the two are very reminiscent of each other, I guess, kind of in a way, so that's an interesting factoid. I guess the only other thing to speak of in terms of the Rotten is that it uses a giant cleaver, and when you fight it in its battle arena in Dark Souls 2, there's patches of flaming stuff everywhere, and it can heavily damage you, so it makes the fight that much harder. You have to dodge these patches of flaming ground in order to be able to fight the Rotten, so I suppose that should be factored into whether this boss fight is actually difficult or not. But I do have some memories of the Rotten, fighting the Rotten in Dark Souls 2, and if I have memories of a boss like that, that's probably because it was kind of a pain in the ass, so, you know. So the Rotten is here, and the Rotten is here to stay. That's all I guess I can really say about that. I think the Rotten's strength kind of makes this fight a little bit interesting, but I think that's pretty much it. I think Osiris has more tricks up his sleeve and is more aggressive, like I said. I think this is a pretty one-sided fight, and I think Osiris takes it in the end. It's definitely a different kind of fight, though. It's kind of interesting to imagine Osiris and the Rotten, facing each other in Mortal Kombat. Trademark. But yeah, I don't think Osiris has a great deal of trouble dispatching the Rotten. But that is just my opinion. Feel free to leave yours in the comments. And that will bring this episode of SoulsBorne Battle to the Death to a close. RobertBlanchardBooks.com if you're interested in my books. The Rise of Dragons podcast if you'd like to hear more about them. My linktree is Bobby's World 2110. My Instagram and Twitter is Bobby's World 2110. And the Sekiro No Healing Gourd run is still going on the channel. I think I don't know about last week's episode, but the week before, we fought our way up Mount Congo and fought the Armored Warrior, and we're on our way to Senpu Temple. So that is what is going on the channel right now. And of course, you can always bring it back here next week for another edition of SoulsBorne Battle to the Death. So until then, be well, stay safe, and as always, it's Bobby's World, and you're all just living in it. See, I'll see you alive, y'all. Bye. What's going on, guys? Thank you for checking out the video today, but I got a question for you. Did you know I wrote a book? Did you know I wrote 3 books? Did you know that they're all part of the same series? The Roar of a Dragon, The Treachery of a Weasel, and The Cry of a Raven. ReadersFavorite.com says that its intensity rivals that of the Game of Thrones series. Now, I personally think that's crazy, but it's not for me to judge. It's for you to judge. Go to RobertBlanchardBooks.com and you can check out the books right now. But wait, that's not all. All 3 books got 5-star reviews in ReadersFavorite.com. These books won the silver medal in the Literary Titan Awards. The Cry of a Raven won silver at the Global eBook Awards. So what are you waiting for? Read about Aiden's dream to become a Knight of Delmar. Read about his death and resurrection. Oops, I gave that away, didn't I? And read about his journey back home from 3,000 years in the future to stop the evil that started in Delmar. Go to RobertBlanchardBooks.com. You can read the first 3 chapters of each book there for free. And then, if you're interested, you can buy the books there as well. And if you've already read the books or you just want to hear more about them, you can check out the Rise of Dragons podcast. You can listen to it wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. And in every episode, I cover a character from the book, an event from the book, my journey into writing, and everything in between. Ripley, what do you got to say about all this?
Give me a treat or I will end you.
You know she's telling you to check out the books. Go to RobertBlanchardBooks.com to check out the books or listen to the Rise of Dragons podcast if you want to hear about them. That's all I got to say, and thank you for watching this video.